We hope you like this story. Let's begin. Cole Thompson adjusted his tie as he stepped out of the sleek black car, offering his hand to his wife, Aubrey. At 38, Cole cut an impressive figure in his tailored suit, his salt and pepper hair giving him a distinguished air that belied his youthful energy. Aubrey, 36, emerged gracefully, her emerald dress catching the light of the street lamps. The annual gala for Cole's architectural firm loomed before them, a glittering affair housed in one of the city's most prestigious venues. As they made their way inside, Cole couldn't help but notice the slight tremor in Aubrey's hand as it rested on his arm. "Everything all right?" he murmured, concern creasing his brow. Aubrey's laugh sounded forced brittle. "Of course, darling. Just a touch nervous. You know how these events can be." Cole nodded, unconvinced. He'd seen Aubrey navigate far more challenging social situations with ease at her art gallery openings. Something was off, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. As they entered the grand ballroom, Cole's eyes were drawn to Ryan Delgado, a charming and ambitious junior partner in the firm. At 32, Ryan had a boyish charm that seemed to captivate everyone around him. Cole watched as Aubrey's gaze flickered towards Ryan, her posture changing almost imperceptibly. Throughout the evening, Cole found himself distracted from the usual networking and shop talk. His attention kept returning to Aubrey and Ryan, cataloging their interactions with growing unease. A lingering touch here, a shared laugh there, inside jokes that seemed to exclude everyone else. At one point, Cole observed Ryan lean in close to Aubrey, whispering something that made her throw her head back in genuine laughter. The intimacy of the gesture sent a chill down Cole's spine. As the night wore on, Cole's discomfort grew. He tried to shake it off, to focus on the potential clients and industry bigwigs he should be schmoozing. But his eyes kept seeking out Aubrey, noting her frequent glances towards Ryan when she thought no one was watching. It was nearing midnight when Cole overheard a snippet of conversation between two interns huddled near the bar. Their voices were low, but in a lull between songs, their words carried clearly to where Cole stood. "Can't believe they're being so obvious," one intern whispered, her eyes darting towards a corner of the room. "I know," her companion replied, shaking his head. "You'd think they'd be more careful, especially with his wife here." Cole's heart rate picked up. He casually moved closer, pretending to study the cocktail menu. "What's this about being obvious?" he asked, keeping his tone light and curious. The interns exchanged a panicked look, realizing too late that they'd been overheard. The young woman with short black hair stammered, "Oh, nothing, Mr. Thompson. Just, office gossip." Cole raised an eyebrow, his lawyer's instinct for interrogation kicking in. "Come now. You can't leave me hanging like that. What's the latest drama?" The male intern looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "Really, sir, it's nothing. We shouldn't have been talking about it at all." Their discomfort only fueled Cole's suspicion. He was about to press further when he caught sight of Aubrey and Ryan across the room. They were standing close, too close, their heads bent together in intimate conversation. A cold knot formed in Cole's stomach. The intern's gossip, Aubrey's strange behavior, the lingering looks and touches, it all clicked into place with sickening clarity. Cole's mind raced as he made his way across the crowded ballroom. The chatter and laughter around him faded to a dull roar in his ears. He reached Aubrey just as she and Ryan were separating, a guilty look flashing across her face as she saw Cole approach. "Aubrey," Cole said, his voice tight with barely controlled emotion, "can I speak with you for a moment? In private?" Aubrey nodded, her face a mask of forced nonchalance. "Of course, honey. Is everything okay?" Cole didn't answer. He simply turned and headed for a nearby balcony, trusting that Aubrey would follow. The cool night air hit him as he stepped outside, providing a momentary relief from the stifling atmosphere inside. He turned to face Aubrey, who had followed him out and was now standing with her arms crossed, a defensive posture if he'd ever seen one. "What's going on between you and Ryan?" Cole asked, deciding to cut straight to the chase. Aubrey's laugh sounded forced brittle. What are you talking about, Cole? Ryan's a colleague, that's all. Don't lie to me, Cole said, his voice low and intense. I've seen the way you two look at each other, the way you touch. And don't think I haven't noticed how nervous you've been all night. Aubrey's face hardened. You're being ridiculous. And frankly, I'm offended that you'd even suggest such a thing. If anyone's been distant lately, it's you. When was the last time you came home before midnight? When was the last time we had a real conversation that wasn't about work? Cole felt a flare of anger at her deflection. Don't try to turn this around on me. This isn't about my work hours. This is about you and Ryan. Their voices had risen, attracting attention from inside. Cole could see people glancing their way, whispering behind their hands. He didn't care. All he cared about was getting the truth from Aubrey. As if summoned by the intensity of their argument, Ryan appeared at the balcony door. Is everything okay out here? He asked, his tone concerned but his stance protective as he moved closer to Aubrey. Cole's control snapped. No, everything is not okay. Why don't you tell me what's going on between you and my wife? Ryan's eyes widened, darting between Cole and Aubrey. I don't know what you're talking about, Cole. Aubrey and I are just... Don't. Cole cut him off. Don't you dare say just friends. I'm not an idiot. The tension on the balcony was palpable. Inside, the party had gone quiet. The other guests now openly staring at the drama unfolding before them. Aubrey, caught between her husband and her lover, seemed to crumple in on herself. I can't do this anymore, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. Cole, I'm so sorry. It's true. Ryan and I, we've been seeing each other for 6 months. The admission hit Cole like a physical blow. He staggered back, gripping the balcony railing for support. 6 months? He repeated, his voice hollow. How? Why? Aubrey's words came out in a rush, as if now that she'd started, she couldn't stop. You were never home, Cole. Always at the office. Always working on your next big project. Ryan was there. He listened. He made me feel seen. Ryan reached out, placing a hand on Aubrey's shoulder. The gesture, meant to be comforting, only served to twist a knife in Cole's gut. Cole looked at them. These two people he had trusted implicitly. His wife, his colleague. In that moment, he felt something inside him break. Without another word, Cole pushed past them and back into the gala. He ignored the stares and whispers, the attempts of well-meaning colleagues to stop him. He just kept walking, out of the venue and into the cool night air. He got into his car and started driving, with no destination in mind. The city lights blurred as he sped through the streets, his mind a whirlwind of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. Eventually, he found himself pulling into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner. It was the kind of place he would have never set foot in under normal circumstances, all vinyl booths and greasy menus. But tonight, it felt right, a fitting place for a man whose life had just fallen apart. Cole slid into a booth and ordered a coffee from a tired-looking waitress. As he sat there, nursing the bitter brew, he tried to process what had just happened. 6 months, half a year of lies and betrayal. How many nights had Aubrey been with Ryan while Cole worked late at the office? How many times had he greeted Ryan with a friendly smile, unaware that the man was sleeping with his wife? The coffee grew cold as Cole sat there, lost in his thoughts. The diner's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows, mirroring the stark reality he now faced. As dawn broke, Cole finally left the diner and headed to work. He couldn't face going home, couldn't bear the thought of the empty house or the possibility of confronting Aubrey again. The next week passed in a blur. Cole went through the motions at work, but his heart wasn't in it. His mind kept drifting back to that night at the gala, replaying every moment, every interaction between Aubrey and Ryan that he should have noticed sooner. His distraction led to mistakes. During a crucial meeting about the high-profile, eco-friendly skyscraper project, Cole presented calculations that were way off base. The client, a major player in sustainable development, was not impressed. It was only through the quick thinking of his team that the project wasn't lost entirely. Throughout the week, Aubrey's attempts at communication oscillated between remorseful pleas and defensive justifications. One moment she was begging for forgiveness. The next she was listing all the ways Cole had driven her to Ryan's arms. Cole couldn't bring himself to respond to any of it. He simply let her calls go to voicemail and deleted her texts without reading them. As the days wore on, Cole's work continued to suffer. He made more errors, missed deadlines, and found himself unable to focus on even the simplest tasks. His passion for architecture, once a driving force in his life, now felt like a distant memory. The final blow came when Cole learned that Ryan had been assigned as lead architect on the skyscraper project, a position Cole had been in line for before his recent mistakes. The news hit him like a punch to the gut, adding professional humiliation to his personal betrayal. Sitting at his desk, staring blankly at the blueprints before him, Cole felt utterly lost. In the span of a week, he had lost his marriage, his professional standing, and his self-respect. For the first time in his career, he found himself contemplating quitting architecture altogether. As he packed up his things that evening, Cole couldn't shake the feeling that his passion had turned to ashes. The clean lines and innovative designs that once filled him with excitement now seemed hollow and meaningless. He walked out of the office, unsure if he would ever find his way back to the man he used to be. Cole Thompson's feet pounded the pavement, each step a desperate attempt to outrun the thoughts that had plagued him since that fateful night at the gala. The revelation of Aubrey's affair with Ryan had left him reeling, and the subsequent week had been a blur of professional missteps and personal anguish. The early morning air was crisp, carrying the promise of a new day that Cole couldn't bring himself to embrace. His mind wandered, replaying the confrontation on the balcony, the shock on Aubrey's face when he called her out, the protective stance Ryan had taken. The memory made his stomach churn. Lost in his thoughts, Cole didn't notice the jogger approaching from the opposite direction until it was too late. They collided with a solid thud, sending both of them sprawling onto the damp grass beside the path. "Jesus Christ," Cole muttered, pushing himself up on his elbows. "I'm sorry I wasn't." The words died in his throat as he recognized the woman sitting up across from him, rubbing her elbow with a grimace. "Mia? Mia-chan." The woman looked up, her eyes widening in recognition. "Cole Thompson? Is that you?" Mia-chan had been a fixture in Cole's college days, always full of energy, always pushing everyone to be their best selves. Now, at 37, she looked even more vibrant than he remembered, her skin glowing with health despite the early hour. "What are the odds?" Cole said, getting to his feet and offering Mia a hand up. "I didn't know you were in the city." Mia accepted his hand, her grip firm as she pulled herself up. "Moved back about a year ago. Started my own life coaching and fitness instruction business." She studied Cole's face, her brow furrowing. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen better days." Cole opened his mouth to brush off her concern, but something in Mia's direct gaze made him pause. The weight of the past week seemed to crash down on him all at once. "I've been going through some things," he admitted. Mia's expression softened. "Why don't we grab a coffee? I was about done with my run anyway." Cole hesitated for a moment, then nodded. What did he have to lose? They found a small cafe just opening for the day. As they settled into a quiet corner with their drinks, Mia leaned forward, her eyes intent on Cole's face. "All right, Spiel? What's going on with you, Cole?" Maybe it was a familiar face from a simpler time. Maybe it was just a need to unburden himself to someone who wasn't entangled in the mess of his life. Whatever the reason, Cole found himself talking. He told Mia everything. The gala, the affair, the confrontation, the professional fallout. Mia listened without interruption, her face a study in empathy. When Cole finally fell silent, she reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Cole, I'm so sorry you're going through this. But can I be brutally honest with you?" Cole nodded, bracing himself. "You've lost yourself," Mia said simply. "In your marriage, in your career, you've forgotten who Cole Thompson really is." Cole opened his mouth to protest, But Mia held up a hand. Think about it. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for your wife, not for your job, but just because it made you happy. Cole sat back, the question hitting him like a physical blow. He couldn't remember. Mia leaned in, her voice intense. This crisis, as painful as it is, it's also an opportunity, a chance to rediscover yourself, to reinvent who you are and what you want from life. Something stirred in Cole's chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Where do I even start? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia's face broke into a grin. Well, as it happens, I'm starting a new kickboxing class next week. It's a great way to channel some of that anger and frustration you're carrying around. She paused, her expression turning serious. And maybe it's time to revisit why you fell in love with architecture in the first place. Not the corporate projects or the client demands, but the pure creativity of it. Cole nodded slowly, feeling a spark of excitement for the first time in weeks. You know what? Sign me up for that class. As they left the cafe, Cole felt lighter than he had in years. He had a long way to go, but for the first time since that night at the gala, he felt like he might actually find his way back. Over the next few weeks, Cole threw himself into Mia's kickboxing class with a fervor that surprised even him. Each punch, each kick was a release of anger, a betrayal of self-doubt. He found himself looking forward to the classes, relishing the burn in his muscles and the clarity that came with physical exertion. But it wasn't just his body that was changing. Late at night, when the house was quiet and the ghosts of his failed marriage weren't quite so loud, Cole found himself sketching. At first, it was just idle doodles, the kind of thing he used to do in college before budget constraints and client demands had narrowed his focus. But as the days passed, those sketches began to take shape. A concept began to form in Cole's mind, a radical departure from anything he'd designed before, a self-sustaining community that could revolutionize urban living. It was ambitious, perhaps even impossible. But for the first time in years, Cole felt the thrill of pure creativity coursing through him. As weeks passed, the changes in Cole became evident to everyone around him. His colleagues noticed a new energy about him, a focus that had been lacking in the immediate aftermath of the gala. He still wasn't back to his old self. The wounds were too fresh for that, but there was a fire in his eyes that spoke of renewal rather than defeat. One morning, as Cole was leaving another invigorating kickboxing session, Mia pulled him aside. "You're looking good, Thompson," she said with a grin. "How are you feeling?" Cole considered the question. "Better," he said finally. "Not great, not yet, but better." Mia nodded, her expression serious. "You've made amazing progress, Cole. But remember, this journey isn't just about getting over Aubrey or proving something to your colleagues. It's about rediscovering who you are and what you want out of life." Cole nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude for his old friend. "I know. And Mia, thank you for everything." As he walked away, Cole felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced in years. He was far from healed, but he was on his way. And for the first time since that night at the gala, he felt ready to face whatever came next. Cole sat in his car outside a nondescript office building, his fingers drumming nervously on the steering wheel. He checked his watch for the third time in as many minutes. 2:58 p.m. His appointment was at 3 o'clock. With a deep breath, he got out of the car and made his way inside. The elevator ride to the fourth floor seemed to take an eternity. When he finally stood in front of the frosted glass door with Sarah Moss Investigations etched in simple black letters, Cole hesitated. Was he really going to do this? Before he could second-guess himself further, the door opened. A woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor stood before him. "Mr. Thompson?" she asked, her voice crisp. Cole nodded. "I'm Sarah Moss. Come in." The office was spartanly furnished, with filing cabinets lining one wall and a desk dominating the center of the room. Sarah gestured for Cole to take a seat as she settled behind her desk. "So," she said, folding her hands on the desk. "You're here about your wife and her lover." Cole flinched at the blunt statement but nodded. "Yes, I need to know everything. How long it's been going on, if there have been others, if—" Sarah held up a hand, cutting him off. "Mr. Thompson, I've been doing this job for 20 years. I know what you need to know, even if you don't. Why don't you start by telling me what you do know, and we'll go from there." For the next hour, Cole laid out everything: the gala, the confrontation, the aftermath. Sarah listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes. When Cole finally fell silent, Sarah leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. "Well, Mr. Thompson, I'll be honest with you. What you're asking for isn't going to be cheap or easy. You want to go down this road." Cole met her gaze steadily. "I need to know the truth. All of it." Sarah nodded, a hint of approval in her eyes. "All right then, let's get started." Over the next few weeks, Cole found himself living a double life. By day, he was throwing himself back into his work at the firm, determined to regain the ground he'd lost in the aftermath of the gala. But his evenings and weekends were consumed by clandestine meetings with Sarah, poring over surveillance photos and text message logs. The information Sarah uncovered was like a dagger to Cole's heart, but it also fueled his determination. Ryan, it turned out, had a history of affairs with colleague spouses. It wasn't just Aubrey. There had been at least 3 others over the past 5 years. Each time, Ryan had leveraged the relationships for professional gain, using pillow talk to glean insider information that helped him climb the corporate ladder. "He's smart," Sarah said during one of their meetings. "He always makes sure there's plausible deniability. Nothing in writing that explicitly proves he's using these affairs for his own benefit. But the pattern is clear if you know where to look." Cole nodded, his jaw clenched. "And Aubrey? Did she know about the others?" Sarah's expression softened slightly. "No evidence of that. As far as I can tell, she genuinely believes she's special to him." The knowledge was a cold comfort, but it helped Cole formulate his next move. Late one night, using a secure VPN and an anonymous email account, Cole reached out to an architecture blog known for exposing industry scandals. He didn't provide specifics, but he hinted at a toxic culture within his firm, particularly regarding the exploitation of personal relationships for professional gain. It was a risk Cole knew. If it was traced back to him, his career could be over. But the seed was planted, and Cole felt a satisfaction in knowing that it was only a matter of time before it bore fruit. Cole's next step was to reconnect with former colleagues who had left the firm under mysterious circumstances. It wasn't easy. Many were reluctant to talk, bound by non-disclosure agreements or simply wanting to put the past behind them. But Cole was persistent, and slowly, a network began to form. There was Michael, a brilliant young architect who had been pushed out after his wife rebuffed Ryan's advances. Lisa, whose innovative designs had been stolen and presented as Ryan's own. And James, who had been on the verge of landing a major client before Ryan swooped in at the last minute, armed with insider information that should have been impossible for him to know. Each story added another piece to the puzzle, painting a damning picture of Ryan's rise through the ranks. And each former colleague became a potential ally in Cole's quest for vindication. As Cole built his case against Ryan, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. This wasn't who he was. The Boy Scout in him recoiled at the underhanded tactics he was employing. But then he would remember the look on Aubrey's face as she admitted to the affair, or the smug satisfaction in Ryan's eyes when he was assigned the lead on the skyscraper project, and Cole's resolve would harden. It was during one of his late-night research sessions that Cole stumbled upon the information that would become the linchpin of his plan. An international sustainable architecture conference was scheduled to take place in Dubai in 3 months' time. Ryan was slated as the keynote speaker, set to present their firm's skyscraper project. Cole stared at the conference website, an idea forming in his mind. It was ambitious, perhaps even foolhardy, but if he could pull it off, with renewed energy, Cole threw himself into his work. By day, he put in long hours at the firm, slowly rebuilding his reputation and regaining the trust of his colleagues. But at night, hunched over his drafting table at home, he worked on something else entirely, a revolutionary design for a self-sustaining community that could change the face of urban living. As the weeks passed and his plan took shape, Cole felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was walking a dangerous line, he knew. One misstep could cost him everything. But as he looked at the intricate plan spread out before him, Cole felt something he hadn't experienced in years. The thrill of creating something truly groundbreaking. The old Cole Thompson, the one who had been content to play it safe, to follow the rules, was gone. In his place was a man driven by a potent mix of ambition, creativity, and the desire for justice. As he put the finishing touches on his designs, Cole knew that win or lose, nothing would ever be the same again. Cole's hand hovered over his phone, his finger poised above Aubrey's number. He'd been avoiding her calls and texts for weeks, but now it was time to set the final phase of his plan in motion. With a deep breath, he pressed call. Aubrey answered on the second ring, her voice a mix of surprise and hope. "Cole, I didn't expect to hear from you." Cole steeled himself, forcing his voice to sound hesitant and vulnerable. "Aubrey, I think we need to talk, face to face. I was wondering if maybe we could try couples therapy." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Aubrey spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. "Oh, Cole. Yes, of course. I've been hoping. Yes, let's do it." As Cole hung up the phone, he felt a twinge of guilt. What he was about to do went against everything he believed in. But then he remembered the look on Ryan's face at the gala, the smug satisfaction as he stood protectively next to Aubrey, and Cole's resolve hardened. The first therapy session was awkward, to say the least. Cole and Aubrey sat on opposite ends of a plush couch, studiously avoiding eye contact as the therapist, Dr. Elaine Foster, gently probed the issues in their marriage. Cole played his part to perfection. He spoke of his workaholic tendencies, his emotional distance. He admitted to feeling lost, adrift without Aubrey's steadying presence. With every word, he could see Aubrey's guilt mounting, her eyes filling with tears as she reached out to take his hand. "I'm so sorry, Cole," she whispered. "I never meant to hurt you like this." Cole squeezed her hand, his face a mask of forgiveness even as his heart remained cold. "I know, Aubrey. I know." Over the next few weeks, Cole carefully crafted an image of a broken man. In therapy sessions, he spoke of sleepless nights, of the gnawing emptiness he felt without Aubrey. He made a show of trying to rebuild their connection, surprising her with lunch at her gallery, leaving heartfelt notes for her to find. Aubrey, torn between guilt and a rekindled affection for Cole, began to distance herself from Ryan. Cole watched with satisfaction as strain appeared in their illicit relationship. Ryan's texts became more frequent, more demanding. Aubrey's responses grew shorter, more evasive. It was during their third therapy session that Cole decided to play his trump card. "There's something I need to tell you both," he said, his voice carefully modulated to sound nervous and excited. "I've been offered a position abroad, a chance to lead a major sustainable development project in Singapore." Dr. Foster leaned forward, her interest piqued. "That sounds like an incredible opportunity, Cole. How do you feel about it?" Cole ran a hand through his hair, the picture of a man torn between duty and desire. I don't know. It's the kind of project I've always dreamed of. But," he turned to Aubrey, his eyes pleading, "I don't want to make any decisions without talking to you first. Our marriage, our healing, that's more important than any job." Aubrey's face was a storm of emotions, surprise, guilt, fear. "Cole, I don't know what to say. This is so sudden." "I know," Cole said, reaching for her hand. "And I'm not asking for an answer right now. I needed you to know. We're in this together, right?" Aubrey nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Together," she echoed. As they left the therapist's office, Cole could practically see the gears turning in Aubrey's head. The seed of urgency had been planted. Now, all he had to do was wait. Over the next few days, Cole noticed a marked change in Aubrey's behavior. She was more attentive, more affectionate. She started asking about his day, showing interest in his work in a way she hadn't for months. It was as if the threat of losing him had rekindled something in her. One evening, as they sat on the couch after dinner, Aubrey curled up next to Cole, her head on his shoulder. "I've been thinking about what you said in therapy," she began, her voice soft. "About the job in Singapore." Cole tensed imperceptibly, but kept his voice calm. "Oh." Aubrey sat up, looking into his eyes. "I think you should take it." Cole blinked, feigning surprise. "Really? But what about us? Our life here?" Aubrey took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Cole, this is the kind of opportunity you've always dreamed of. And I think it could be good for us. A fresh start, away from all the complications here." Cole could see the conflict in her eyes, the guilt warring with hope. He leaned in, kissing her forehead softly. "Are you sure? This is a big decision, Aubrey. I don't want to rush into anything." Aubrey nodded, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I'm sure we can make this work, Cole. I want to make this work." As Cole held her, he felt a twinge of something. Not quite guilt, not quite regret, but a recognition of the weight of what he was doing. Aubrey was recommitting to their marriage, unwittingly playing into his larger plan for vindication. Over the next few weeks, Cole watched as Aubrey threw herself into planning for their move to Singapore. She researched neighborhoods, international schools, just in case, she said, expatriate communities. She started learning basic Mandarin phrases, laughing at her pronunciation as Cole gently corrected her. At the same time, Cole noticed Aubrey's interactions with Ryan becoming increasingly strained. He overheard snippets of hushed phone conversations, saw the frown lines deepen on Aubrey's forehead as she read texts. Once, he came home early to find Aubrey in tears, quickly composing herself when she heard him enter. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. Aubrey forced a smile. "Of course. Just feeling a bit overwhelmed with all the changes coming up." Cole nodded sympathetically, even as he felt a satisfaction. His plan was working perfectly. As the supposed date of their move drew closer, Cole ramped up his preparations for the Dubai conference. He worked late into the night, refining his designs, practicing his presentation. Aubrey, assuming he was preparing for his new job in Singapore, was supportive, even bringing him coffee and sandwiches as he worked. One night, as Cole was packing up his briefcase, Aubrey approached him, wringing her hands nervously. "Cole, I need to tell you something." Cole's heart rate picked up, but he kept his face neutral. "What is it, Aubrey?" Aubrey took a deep breath. "I've ended things with Ryan. Completely. I told him about Singapore, about us trying again. He didn't take it well, but it's over. I promise." Cole pulled her into an embrace, hiding his face in her hair, so she couldn't see the flash of triumph in his eyes. "Thank you for telling me," he murmured. "I know that must have been difficult." As Aubrey clung to him, mumbling apologies and promises, Cole allowed himself a small, secret smile. Everything was falling into place. In just a few weeks, he would be in Dubai, ready to unveil his masterpiece and expose Ryan for the fraud he was. The game was far from over, but Cole Thompson was finally back in control. And this time, he had no intention of letting anyone outmaneuver him again. The Dubai sun beat down mercilessly as Cole Thompson stepped out of his taxi, the gleaming facade of the conference center looming before him. He adjusted his tie, feeling the weight of his laptop bag on his shoulder, and the weight of his ambitions even heavier. Inside, the air conditioning hit him like a wall of ice, a stark contrast to the sweltering heat outside. The lobby buzzed with activity, architects and designers from around the world mingling, their excited chatter filling the air. Cole scanned the crowd, his eyes narrowing as he spotted Ryan Delgado holding court near the registration desk, surrounded by admirers. Ryan caught Cole's eye and smirked, raising his coffee cup in a mock salute. Cole nodded curtly, his face a mask of professional indifference. Let Ryan think he was still broken, still reeling from the affair. The element of surprise was Cole's greatest weapon now. As Cole made his way to the check-in desk, he overheard snippets of conversation. Did you see the lineup? Ryan Delgado's keynote on that new skyscraper project. I heard it's revolutionary. Sustainable design taken to a whole new level. Cole allowed himself a small, secret smile. They had no idea what was coming. The young woman at the registration desk beamed at him. Name, please? Cole Thompson. She scanned her list, her brow furrowing slightly. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. I don't see you on the speakers list. Cole leaned in, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Check again. There should be a late edition under Special Presentation. The woman's eyes widened as she found the entry. Oh, yes, here it is. My apologies, Mr. Thompson. Here's your badge and information packet. Your presentation is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. in Auditorium B. Cole nodded his thanks, pinning the badge to his lapel. As he turned away, he caught Ryan watching him, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Cole simply smiled and made his way into the main conference hall. The day passed in a blur of presentations and networking. Cole played his part perfectly, engaging in discussions, exchanging business cards, all the while keeping a low profile. He watched Ryan work the room, charm oozing from every pore. If Cole hadn't known better, he might have been fooled by Ryan's act himself. Finally, it was time for Ryan's keynote. The main auditorium was packed, standing room only. Cole slipped in at the back, leaning against the wall as Ryan took the stage to enthusiastic applause. Ryan's presentation was, Cole had to admit, technically sound. The skyscraper project was impressive, a towering structure of glass and steel, incorporating the latest in green technology. Ryan spoke with confidence, his slides polished and professional. But as Cole watched the audience, he noticed something. There was no spark, no real excitement. People nodded politely, took notes, but there was no fire in their eyes. The reception, when Ryan finished, was lukewarm at best. Polite applause, a few perfunctory questions, but nothing more. As the crowd began to disperse, Cole slipped out, making his way to Auditorium B. It was time. The room was smaller than the main auditorium, but it was filling up quickly. Word had spread about a mysterious last-minute addition to the program, and curiosity had drawn a substantial crowd. Cole stood backstage, taking deep breaths, centering himself. This was it. Months of work, of planning, of deception. It all came down to the next hour. The moderator stepped up to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special presentation for you today. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Cole Thompson. Cole strode out, the lights momentarily blinding him. As his eyes adjusted, he saw the sea of faces before him, expectant, curious. In the back of the room, he spotted Ryan, arms crossed, a puzzled frown on his face. Cole took a deep breath and began. Ladies and gentlemen, we've spent the past 2 days talking about sustainable architecture, about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But I'm here to tell you that we haven't pushed far enough. He clicked his remote, and the first image appeared on the screen behind him. A bird's-eye view of a sprawling, interconnected community. What you're looking at is not just a building, not just a neighborhood, but a complete ecosystem. A self-sustaining community that could revolutionize the way we think about urban living. As Cole spoke, he could feel the energy in the room shifting. People were leaning forward in their seats, eyes wide. He took them through the design, explaining how each element worked in harmony with the others. Solar panels and wind turbines integrated seamlessly into the structures. Vertical farms and aquaponic systems providing fresh food. Water recycling systems that reduced waste to near zero. But it wasn't just the technology that captured their attention. Cole explained how the design incorporated principles of social psychology, creating spaces that fostered community interaction, that encourage collaboration and innovation. This isn't just about creating sustainable buildings, Cole said, his voice passionate. It's about creating sustainable communities. It's about changing the way we live, the way we interact with our environment and with each other. As he spoke, Cole could see the audience coming alive. There were murmurs of excitement, people furiously taking notes or snapping photos of his slides. In the back of the room, Ryan's frown had deepened, his arms uncrossed as he leaned forward, studying the designs with intense concentration. When Cole finished his presentation, there was a moment of silence. Then, as if a dam had burst, the room erupted in applause. People were on their feet, cheering, calling out questions. The moderator tried to maintain order, but the excitement was palpable. As Cole fielded questions, he could see people in the audience typing furiously on their phones, no doubt sharing what they'd seen on social media. He caught snippets of conversation. Never seen anything like it. Could change everything. Who is this Thompson guy? In the back of the room, Ryan had disappeared. As the session finally wound down, Cole found himself surrounded by potential clients, reporters, even competitors, all clamoring for more information. Business cards were pressed into his hands, promises of follow-up meetings extracted. Cole felt a tap on his shoulder and turned to find himself face-to-face with Elon Musk, the tech billionaire's eyes gleaming with excitement. "Mr. Thompson," Musk said, "we need to talk. I think you might have just solved our Mars colonization housing problem." Cole blinked, momentarily stunned. This was beyond anything he had anticipated. As he opened his mouth to respond, he caught sight of Ryan storming out of the auditorium, his face a mask of fury. The game had changed. Cole had just played his hand, and it was clear to everyone in that room that he held all the cards. As he turned back to Musk, ready to discuss the potential application of his designs for extraterrestrial colonization, Cole allowed himself a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph. The reckoning had begun. The aftermath of Cole's presentation was a whirlwind. His phone buzzed incessantly with notifications as his design went viral on social media. #ThompsonRevolution was trending worldwide, with architects, environmentalists, and futurists all weighing in on the potential impact of his self-sustaining community concept. Cole barely had time to catch his breath as he was whisked from one impromptu meeting to another. Investors were clamoring to get in on the ground floor. Tech companies were proposing collaborations, and government officials were discussing how to implement his ideas in their cities. It was during a brief lull, as Cole was grabbing a much-needed coffee, that Ryan finally confronted him. Cole had just taken his first sip when he felt a hand roughly grab his shoulder, spinning him around. Ryan's face was contorted with rage, his normally perfectly coiffed hair disheveled. "What the fuck do you think you're doing, Thompson?" he snarled, his voice low but intense. Cole calmly set down his coffee cup. "I believe I just gave a presentation on sustainable urban design, Ryan. Weren't you there?" Ryan's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Don't play dumb with me. You've been planning this for months, haven't you? While I've been busting my ass on the skyscraper project, you've been what? Undermining the whole firm." Cole's calm demeanor only seemed to infuriate Ryan further. "The firm," Cole said, raising an eyebrow. "Or just you, Ryan?" Ryan's face flushed an even deeper shade of red. "You sanctimonious prick. You think you can just waltz in here with your fancy designs and your holier-than-thou attitude? You're nothing, Thompson. You hear me? Nothing." Cole noticed a small crowd gathering, watching the confrontation with interest. Among them, he spotted several industry leaders, their expressions a mix of concern and curiosity. "I think you need to calm down, Ryan," Cole said, his voice level. "You're making a scene." Ryan laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "A scene? You want a scene? I'll give you a scene. How about I tell everyone here how you've been sabotaging projects, stealing clients, all to set up your big moment?" Cole's eyes hardened. "I think you're confusing me with yourself, Ryan. We both know who the real saboteur is." Ryan's hand shot out, grabbing Cole's lapel. "You son of a..." "Is there a problem here, gentlemen?" Both men turned to see Aubrey standing there, her face pale, her eyes darting between them. Cole hadn't even known she was at the conference. Ryan immediately released Cole, smoothing down his own jacket. "Aubrey," he said, his voice suddenly honey-sweet. "I didn't know you were here." Aubrey's gaze was cold as she looked at Ryan. Clearly, she turned to Cole. "Your presentation was amazing. I'm so proud of you." The look of betrayal on Ryan's face was almost comical. He opened his mouth to speak, but at that moment, a ping sounded from dozens of phones in the vicinity, including Cole's. Cole pulled out his phone, already suspecting what he'd find. The architecture blog he'd tipped off months ago had just published their exposé on the firm's toxic culture. The headline screamed, "Scandal in the Skyline, Affairs, Theft, and Corruption at Thompson and Delgado Architects." The article detailed years of ethical breaches, with Ryan at the center of most of them. Anonymous accounts from former employees painted a damning picture of a man who used personal relationships to gain professional advantages, who stole ideas and claimed them as his own, who manipulated and bullied his way to the top. Cole watched as Ryan's face drained of color, his eyes scanning his own phone in disbelief. Around them, the murmurs grew louder as more people read the article. "Ryan," it was Jerome Packard, the CEO of their firm, his face thunderous. "My office. Now." As Ryan was led away, looking shell-shocked, Cole felt a hand slip into his. He looked down to see Aubrey standing beside him, her eyes filled with a mixture of admiration and regret. "I'm so sorry, Cole," she whispered. "For everything." Cole squeezed her hand gently before letting it go. "We have a lot to talk about," he said quietly. "But not here. Not now." Aubrey nodded, understanding. As she walked away, Cole turned to face the crowd of industry leaders, reporters, and curious onlookers that had gathered during the confrontation. "Well," he said, a wry smile touching his lips, "I suppose you all have some questions." The weeks following the Dubai conference were a blur of activity for Cole. His inbox was flooded with job offers from prestigious firms around the world, each trying to outbid the other. Eco-conscious billionaires were practically throwing money at him, eager to be the first to bring his revolutionary designs to life. But amidst the professional triumph, Cole knew there was still one piece of unfinished business he had to attend to. He stood outside the home he had once shared with Aubrey, divorce papers in hand. The house looked the same as it always had, but it felt different now. Foreign, like it belonged to someone else's life. Cole took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. A moment later, Aubrey opened the door. She looked tired, shadows under her eyes, but there was a tentative smile on her face. "Cole," she said softly, "come in." They settled in the living room, the air thick with unspoken words. Cole placed the envelope containing the divorce papers on the coffee table between them. "I think it's time we made this official," he said, his voice gentle but firm. Aubrey stared at the envelope, her hands twisting in her lap. "I understand," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Then, as if the words were being torn from her, she blurted out, "Cole, I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between them. Cole felt as if the wind had been knocked out of him. "What?" he managed to say. Aubrey's eyes filled with tears. "I'm about 8 weeks along. I don't know if it's yours or Ryan's." Cole leaned back, his mind reeling. This was not how he had expected this conversation to go. "Does Ryan know?" he asked. Aubrey shook her head. "I haven't told anyone. I wanted you to be the first to know." Cole stood up, pacing the room as he tried to process this new information. Part of him wanted to walk out, to hand Aubrey the divorce papers and never look back. But another part, the part that had loved this woman for years, couldn't just leave her like this. "We need to get a paternity test," he said finally, turning back to face Aubrey. She nodded, wiping away her tears. "Of course. I want you to know, Cole, that regardless of who the father is, I understand if you don't want to be involved. After everything I've put you through." Cole held up a hand, stopping her. "Let's not make any decisions until we know for sure. For now, just take care of yourself and the baby. The next few weeks were tense. Cole threw himself into his work, fielding offers and starting preliminary designs for his first self-sustaining community project. But always, in the back of his mind, was the ticking clock of Aubrey's pregnancy. Finally, the day came for the paternity test results. Cole sat in the doctor's office, his knee bouncing nervously as they waited for the envelope to be opened. The doctor looked at them both, his expression neutral. "Are you ready?" They nodded. The doctor opened the envelope, scanned the contents, and looked up. "Mr. Thompson, the test results show that you are not the father of this child." Cole felt a mixture of relief and sadness wash over him. He looked at Aubrey, saw the tears streaming down her face, and felt a pang of sympathy. Despite everything, he had loved her once. "I'm sorry," he said softly. Aubrey shook her head. "Don't be. This is the consequence of my actions. I have to face that now." They left the doctor's office in silence. Outside, Cole turned to Aubrey. "What will you do now?" She shrugged, looking lost. "I don't know. Raise the baby, I suppose. Try to be a better person than I have been." Cole nodded. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "This is the number of a good lawyer. She can help you with everything. Child support, custody arrangements, all of it." Aubrey took the card, her hand trembling slightly. "Thank you, Cole, for everything. I know I don't deserve your kindness." Cole sighed. "We all make mistakes, Aubrey. The important thing is what we do after." He paused, then added, "I've accepted a position in Singapore. I'm leaving next week." Aubrey's eyes widened. "Singapore? That's wonderful, Cole. You'll do amazing things there." Cole smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in their conversation. "I hope so. It's a chance to start fresh, to build something truly meaningful." They stood there for a moment, the weight of their shared history and the uncertainty of their separate futures hanging between them. Finally, Cole held out his hand. "Goodbye, Aubrey. Take care of yourself. And good luck." Aubrey took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Goodbye, Cole. I hope you find happiness." As Cole walked away, he felt as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. The chapter of his life with Aubrey was closing, but a new one was about to begin. A week later, Cole found himself boarding a plane to Singapore. As he settled into his first-class seat, he pulled out his laptop. The screen came to life, displaying the latest iteration of his self-sustaining community design. As the plane took off, leaving behind the ruins of his old life, Cole began to refine the design. With each modification, each improvement, he felt his excitement grow. He was building more than just sustainable communities. He was building a better future for the world and for himself. The flight to Singapore stretched before him, hours of uninterrupted time to work and think. Cole lost himself in the intricate details of his designs, barely noticing as the flight attendants moved through the cabin, offering drinks and meals. As he worked, Cole's mind wandered to the whirlwind of the past few weeks. The triumph of his presentation in Dubai, the exposure of Ryan's machinations, the bittersweet ending with Aubrey. It all seemed like a lifetime ago, yet the emotions were still raw, still pulsing beneath the surface. He thought about the child, Ryan's child, that Aubrey was carrying. A wave of complex emotions washed over him. Relief that he wasn't tied to Aubrey through parenthood, sadness for the family he had once imagined having with her, and a strange sense of freedom. The last ties to his old life had been severed. Cole closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. When he opened them again, he looked out the window at the vast expanse of sky and clouds. Somewhere out there was Singapore, a new beginning waiting for him. He turned back to his laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard as he made more adjustments to his design. The self-sustaining community was taking shape, not just as a collection of buildings and systems, but as a living, breathing ecosystem. Cole could almost see it in his mind's eye. People moving through the spaces he created, living in harmony with the environment and each other. As the flight neared its end, Cole sat back, surveying his work. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever was, but it was a start, a foundation for the future he wanted to build. The captain's voice came over the intercom, announcing their descent into Singapore. Cole saved his work and closed his laptop, feeling a surge of anticipation. As the plane touched down on the tarmac, he felt as if he was landing not just in a new country, but in a new life. Stepping off the plane into the humid Singapore air, Cole took a deep breath. The sense of tropical flowers and spices filled his nostrils, so different from the familiar smells of home. As he made his way through customs and collected his luggage, he felt a sense of excitement building in his chest. Outside the airport, a sleek black car was waiting for him, a driver holding a sign with his name. As Cole settled into the back seat, the driver turned to him with a smile. "Welcome to Singapore, Mr. Thompson," he said. "We're very excited to have you here." Cole nodded, returning the smile. "Thank you. I'm excited to be here." As the car pulled away from the curb, Cole watched the Singapore skyline come into view. The gleaming skyscrapers and lush greenery seemed to embody the very principles he had been working towards, a harmony between urban development and nature. His phone buzzed with a message. It was from the head of the Sustainable Architecture initiative he was joining. "Can't wait to see what you'll create here, Cole. The future starts now." Cole smiled to himself, feeling a sense of purpose settle over him. Yes, the future did start now, and he was ready to build it, one sustainable community at a time. As the car wound its way through the bustling streets of Singapore, Cole felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in months. The pain of betrayal, the bitterness of revenge, the sadness of ending his marriage, all of it seemed to fade away, replaced by a burning desire to create, to innovate, to make a real difference in the world. He thought back to that night at the diner, when he had hit rock bottom, contemplating quitting architecture altogether. How far he had come since then. The journey had been difficult, painful even, but it had led him here, to this moment of new beginnings. Cole leaned back in his seat, watching the city go by. He didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he was excited to find out. He had his skills, his vision, and a world of possibilities stretching out before him. As the car pulled up to his new apartment building, Cole gathered his things, ready to step into his new life. He had left behind the ruins of his old life, but from those ruins, he had built a foundation for something greater. Cole Thompson, the architect who had almost lost everything, was now poised to reshape the world. And as he stepped out of the car and into the warm Singapore night, he knew that his greatest designs were yet to come. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.